Hey, it's Bree here,
And Alan.
and we're the Hunter and the Hippie podcast. Thanks for joining us today.
Today we started our conversation prior to recording and realized, you know what? Fuck it. We're just going to record the randomness that is life and talk about the quote science of road tripping and the wonderful taste of coffee and all other things in life.
Awesome. So, thank you again to everyone who supports us for listening. Make sure you subscribe, leave us a review, send us any questions you might have. Find us on the social medias, even though I'm not really on there anymore. And thank you to Brianna Cote for our photography and marketing content. And then Allison Van, Allyson, for making our music for the intro and outro.
For sure. Don't forget to look. I think you said this. Look us up on social media, but also thehunterandthehippiepodcast.com. Feel free to email us as well. Look forward to hearing from you. Enjoy the episode. Hey, Bree. We're picking up mid conversation. We did one of those oh shit moments. We started talking. We're like, we should probably be recording.
Yeah, we've been talking for like 15 minutes.
Right. And we're like, should we record? We should record. And it's one of those things, like, sometimes we like have serious shit to talk about, and sometimes it's just fucking random nonsense. Like, that's what life is, right?
Yeah, and right now it's serious stuff. Coffee.
So we were talking about, right, first off, we were talking about gas prices, but then we were talking about like road tripping and like just being in different places, and then
because I'm heading to Arizona, right? And yeah, I originally booked it because gas was cheaper, and I was like, oh, this will be great. And then I don't like fly. It's going to be better than flying, and this, that, and the other, and I'll camp this, and it sounds so glorious. It still will be glorious. It's just not saving me any money.
No.
Or time.
Not the way gas prices are.
But I said I have the Maverik adventure card.
So for those listening that aren't in like Colorado or Western states, I don't know all the states they cover, but Maverik is a gas station.
Yes.
And I stop there often when I road trip, so I road trip a lot.
And I road trip a lot.
Yes. Yeah. And I mentioned I love, right, you were saying you love their food, right? They have a great
I said they have the best like shop thing, and I was like their food, and then you went to say the coffee, and I was like, yes, the coffee is the best.
Yes. So if you haven't experienced, like, so Come and Goes have them too. Come and Goes are in Colorado. I haven't found them in, they're not in Arizona. I don't know where else they are, but
they might be in Utah.
Are they up in Wyoming?
I
don't know if I've seen them in Wyoming.
I don't know. I don't know.
Anyway, the Come and Goes and the Maveriks have the same style. They have these new coffee pots, and they're awesome. And I so look forward to them, and I love that you have had them too, because you're just as excited.
Do you have a Maverik card?
I don't, because
for every 10 coffees you get a free one. You don't have to pay money to be. It's just you actually. I need to get one of those. It's not like a buy into the card. It's like a point system, and then you get 2 cents off every gallon of gas as well.
Oh, that's sweet. I'm gonna need to look into that, because I probably had 10 cups of coffee on my last road trip, easily from Maveriks. Yeah. And if I see a Maverik, like, I'm stopping, because I know that they're gonna have this bomb fucking coffee.
Yes.
And you think like gas station coffee, like how good can this coffee be, right? And I love when I said it, like your eyes lit up and you're like, yeah, it's not this stupid pot of coffee that's like been sitting there on the burner. It's not. Seriously, I've had coffee all over. I've had coffee in Italy. I've had coffee in Africa. I've had some of, quote, the best coffee ever. And I would choose, so my number one, first off, my number one coffee is Waffle House coffee. Oh. If I see a Waffle House and I want coffee, I will stop at the Waffle House. They have to-go cups. I love Waffle House coffee. But number 2 is from the Maveriks or Come and Goes with these new machines because it grinds the beans for every cup of coffee.
Yes.
And it has this, first off, it's so good.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that burnt Starbucks shit. I don't know how anyone drinks Starbucks coffee. Starbucks has to be the worst coffee ever. It really does.
I don't know. I have to say, I had coffee at a diner the other day.
Could you chew it?
It wasn't a diner, actually. It was like a restaurant.
Yeah.
But breakfast places, and it's like just breakfast restaurants that don't have a like espresso option. It's like coffee tea. And that is the worst to me. Like that, I will take a Starbucks actually over the coffee tea.
Really?
Oh yeah, because there's no, it has no flavor. It's like water with like a splash of coffee flavor.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shoot, I should like it's not strong, like there's no flavor.
Yeah.
And maybe I came off of like I had made my own cup and then had that, and I'm like, oh, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's
okay,
fun. So
machine.
So machine, it grinds its own, and maybe like I have a Keurig at home, so like I don't have the best coffee at home, but like this machine, you put your little cup on it, under it, you hit the brew button.
Well, you pick what beans you want first.
Yes, yeah. So there's usually 3 options, and in a lot of stations there's 2 machines with 3 other options. Yeah, that's what I've seen. Yeah, so you get like 6 options.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. But then, and so I had found out about this a while ago, and then Jessica and I were going somewhere. I forget where we were going. We were road tripping somewhere, and I stopped for this awesome cup of coffee, and like I started raving about it. So I'm like, you got to try this cup of coffee. Yeah. And she's like, it's gas station coffee. How good can it be? And she tried it, and she was like, oh. That's good. And it has this freshness, and it has this aftertaste of beans. Like it feels like you're drinking like the freshest, for me, the freshest cup of coffee that I've ever had. And it's every time. I have yet to find a moment where that machine gives me a bad cup of coffee.
Yeah. But it's because it grinds it grinds the beans right there. Yeah. And that's the best way to have coffee is like fresh ground beans and then brew it.
Yeah. And I love like espresso, but I'm not an espresso all the time kind of guy. And like, I don't like when they're like, oh, we'll just order like an Americano. Like, no, because that's just espresso watered down. And like, I just want a good cup of coffee. Yeah. And these are, I love them. I'm so glad that you can relate to them because I was like the first time I had it, I was like, oh, this is interesting. I was like, this has to save them money, right? I was totally thinking like the economical side of things. And then after that, it just turned into, wow, this is a fucking amazing cup of coffee.
And there's an iced coffee option too.
Is there really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I just noticed some of the machines have a thermos option too. Oh. And yeah, so when you're looking at the machine, right, like it just normally has that one spout you put the cup under. Some of the machines, I just started noticing on the left side of it, there's a taller option, and it has a sensor that if you put a thermos there, it'll pour from that, and it gives you an option for a bigger cup.
Nice. Yeah. I always bring my to-go cup, take my reusable cup in there, and it fits luckily. But I never know how many ounces it is, and I'm always like, oh gosh, I hope I picked the right one. Else it's gonna be like overflowing.
I am terrible about bring my own cup, and it's awful because there's styrofoam cups in there. So I do use the styrofoam, sadly, but I need to. I was thinking about it this last trip that I was on, and I was like, I really need a reusable cup.
It's easy when you're road tripping because you just got to get it in the car, and then it's like you just leave it in the car.
Right. And but what I'll do is there's the leave room for cream option. I drink my coffee black. Yeah. But I hate a coffee cup that is full to the brim. Because when you're driving, so 2 things. Because I use the cheap styrofoam cups, I don't like the plastic lid.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I hate right? First off, you always burn yourself because you have no clue when the coffee is going to come through the little hole. And I don't like the taste that it has. So I take the lid off as soon as I get in the car.
Yeah.
And if it's too full, it spills coffee and splashes all over the place. So I do the leave room for cream option, and
Nice.
but I don't put cream in it. And I short myself coffee, but it saves me headache and worrying about having to get spillage all over my truck.
Well, and it also cools faster, so you can drink it when you don't have a lid on it.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. So, like, driving to South Dakota, pretty much once a month, like, I have my gas station stops, and one is the Maverik in Buffalo. And then the other one is typically in Moorcroft. There's an actual Caribou Coffee, which is, I mean, it's compared to like other gas station coffee it's going to be good, you know? And that, I don't know what the gas station is there. And so those are my two stops. But now that I have the Maverik Adventure card, I'm like, nah, man.
You got to find a Maverik.
Moorcroft is off. Only Maverik in Buffalo or Newcastle.
I love it.
Well, and the funny thing how it happened is, like, because I do look for them and they happen to be like, because I've been had to go down to Utah for something in the fall, and then now these Arizona trips, I like look for them knowing, again, like the good coffee and like pretty decent food options. Actually, one of the reasons I started looking for them is because they also have Black Rifle like canned coffee.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And so I don't like to get like the Starbucks Frappuccino can. So if I'm getting something cold and like prepackaged, I like the Black Rifle. And so that's kind of what first got me on them. And then I was like, wait, they've got this sweet like hot coffee machine. But I went into a Maverik here in Cody, and I don't even know if maybe I got a coffee. I don't know what I bought. And I was like filling up gas. Yeah, it was a coffee. And the woman goes, do you have our Maverik Adventure card? And no attendant has ever asked me that. And I said, no. And I was thinking it's like, oh, something you have to like pay for, like all of that. And so I was like really going towards the like, no, it's okay. She's like, oh, it's just free. And if you buy 10 of those coffees, you get one for free. You get all these points. And then she's like, I bought gift cards for people's birthdays with all the points that I've saved up from it. And I was like, no one's ever asked me. I'm going to grab one. So I like grabbed a card and like registered it. And like, I was honestly like, thank you, because I always look for Maveriks, and I've been going to Maveriks for so long and like losing these deals.
The last Maverik I stopped at on the way home from Arizona was, I was asked the question, do you want a Maverik Adventure card? And I remember it because I was like, wow, one, I've never been asked that.
Yeah.
Two, no, I'm not interested. Don't try to sell me on something.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's exactly where I went. And like, that's where it ended. I didn't get the card. But now, like, talking to you about it, I'm like, shit, I should have the card. But if we're done with the coffee, we can move on just a little bit, because road tripping is a science.
Yeah.
And not only do I look for the Maveriks and the Come and Goes for the coffee, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned the food, right? So like, Maveriks and Come and Goes are known, like they have those like food areas, and we're not talking about, right, for like those that don't know that are listening, right, we're not talking about like Hostess donuts food, right, and like chips and shit. Like they have these like, would you call it a cafe? Like,
yeah, almost.
Right, like they have real food, and it's awesome. It is so great to have the real food option when you're sort of in the middle of nowhere, when you've been eating, right, like your options are sugar and carbs, or, right, like this. So like, that's really cool. And then the other thing are restrooms. I am like, I can't poop in public places. Like, it's just, or I will if I have to, but like,
You're gonna poop in private in your car instead of
right.
going to the bathroom at the gas station.
In my pants, right?
I just pooped my pants in private. So much better than that gas station.
Right. I can't stand it, right? But if I have to, I want like a clean bathroom.
Yeah.
And Come and Goes and Maveriks are always top notch on their bathrooms, which like even for just going pee, right? Like it is nice to walk into a bathroom, there not be whatever all over the floor, right? There's always paper towel stock, there's always soap, right? Like, so for me, it's like the science of road tripping. And then like when you find it, you're like, yes, like it's not like stick to what you know, but it is. It's like, I know if I go into a Maverik, I'm going to get a good cup of coffee. I'm going to have some options for real food if I want it. And the bathrooms are going to be clean.
Yeah. Well, and this might not be real food, but I have to say it was pretty darn good. I stopped at a Maverik on my way back from South Dakota, and it was like morning, and I don't know, I like hadn't had breakfast or whatever, and you know, every once in a while I gotta go for it's you know, they have fast food options kind of, but they're like good fast food options.
Right.
And I actually kind of feel like they're better than fast food. I don't know why. But there was a breakfast sausage wrapped in French toast, and it was
that sounds amazing.
So good.
Was there like syrup in it too? Like
I'm sure I don't know. Yeah,
like one of those like McGriddles.
It was like and
awesome.
It's funny because I just like went for kind of. I was like, I don't want something big. I'm like, oh, that's probably small, and I like grabbed that, and I was like, what did I get? This is amazing. But
that's awesome.
Another time I went in and got a sausage wrap. It was breakfast time, and I got like a quote unquote sausage wrap, and I figured it was like a breakfast burrito, you know, like with sausage, but I didn't look at the ingredients or anything, which is funny because I actually do look at all the ingredients typically, even when I'm getting those things, just to be like, what am I eating?
Right. Sometimes it's good to not know what you're eating though.
Yeah.
But yes. But anyway.
So I grabbed it thinking it's going to be a breakfast burrito, and I open it and it's a sausage with like garlic knot bread around.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh, okay. Well,
this is an interesting breakfast.
Cool. Here we go.
Oh, that's funny.
So I think I looked at other ones, and they were all like breakfast burritos with like eggs in them. So I just like I was like, oh, this one's sausage. I'll get that. And then
it was not that.
Oh, whoops.
That's great. But that's what I love about it, is that you have some of these, like, even if there's French toast wrapped in sausage, right? There's other like fast food style, right? I mean, it's still fast food, but I do agree. I don't know if it is better than McDonald's, but like, I went to McDonald's. I went and played golf with some friends, and I grabbed a sausage biscuit from McDonald's. It was awful.
Yeah.
Like, why do I even it was terrible.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of people, when you think gas station food, right?
Yeah.
Like, you think of the hot dogs rolling on the rollers, like for 32 hours. This isn't it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's something you have to experience yourself, I guess, right, to believe what we're saying. But it's definitely more of like I don't know if it's it's not a cleaner eating option. It's just a better option.
Yeah. Like if you're gonna get crappy food, you might as well get tasty crappy food.
Right. Right. And have good service. Like that's the other thing. Maveriks and Come and Goes, they're always like, the service is always like, hey, like, how can I help? And it's always fast, and I enjoy that. And
it's crazy how they're very much laid out the same too.
Yes.
Like I've gone into one and been like, this is deja vu, but I'm like, I'm in a different town, but this is exactly what I just walked into like 4 hours ago.
It's like a Walmart. You know where to go, where the things are.
Well, but more than a deja vu Walmart, because it's like small. So you're like, you walk in and you're like, whoa.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. Yeah. They're great. I mean, yeah, it's I think, did they start in Utah because they have all the Moab theme? Like I wonder if they
Um,
originated all their paintings on the
Possibly, yeah.
walls are like rock climbers and like kayakers and mountain bikers, and it's like very Moab.
hmm
Um,
Because the gas station I stop at in Moab is a Maverik, and
yeah,
it's massive.
yeah,
So yeah, maybe.
yeah.
Yeah, we got to look up the origin of the
I
Maverik gas station.
know. Jeez.
What's
There,
well, you know, and we could stay on this for right. Whatever. I'm gonna change a little bit to
yeah.
Italy. To Italy, right? So
Okay.
have you been to Italy?
Yeah.
Did you drive any of it, or like did you like spend any time like on the freeway system there? Or
No, I flew into Rome, spent
okay,
like I think 4 or 5 days in Rome, but we were like outside, so we outside of the city, so we would
hmm
take the train in every day, and then we were
got
up
it,
in Florence and Tuscany.
got it. So my experience, we actually had a car and we drove Italy for like 2 weeks from
Yeah.
Rome, like all the way up to Venice, and one of the things that we would do is we would stop at these quote rest stops. They
Yeah.
didn't have gas stations in them, but they were like rest stops, but not like America rest stops, and it was really shocking. Because you'd like pull over, you pull off the freeway, and
Mhm.
all that was there was like a parking lot, and they matched up, like there was one on each side of the freeway, and the rest stop was actually above the freeway, so
Okay.
like you could access it from both sides, and you go up and uh it's like a convenience store, but
Mhm.
the Italian version and the most amazing version ever, because it was like you could get fresh pasta, like you want like fresh baked croissants and like espresso, like Italian espresso.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was like fresh baked bread. It was unbelievable. I was like, why don't we have this shit in America? And
Yeah.
it like literally like we stopped. It was like lunchtime, and we stopped at one of them. We like go up the stairs and into it, and it was like almost like a cafeteria style like setup,
Oh,
like
yeah.
different like or like a mall style setup.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I got like penne alla vodka. And like they
Yeah.
like make it like they grab the pasta, they like cook the pasta, they make the sauce, you watch them, and I'm like, this is like a rest stop. This is crazy.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I was like, man, we need this shit in the states.
Yeah. I love that. Those are, well, not, I haven't been to like the rest stop version, but just
hmm
in general, like I feel like a lot of European cities have the almost like the market setup where you like go in and it's all
hmm
these different places you can get food. And now like they have it in
Yeah.
Denver, like those style things now in the US, but it took a really long time to get
hmm
that. I feel when I lived in New York, Mario Batali, the like chef, famous
hmm
chef guy, opened like one of the first ones in New York.
Hmm.
And it was based off like the Italian kind of I don't know if you'd say marketplace. There's an actual name for it and I can't think of it, but yeah, you walk
It,
in and you can get like food that's cooked fresh. You can also get, you know, like not groceries, but kind of more artisan style food
yeah,
items to take
yeah.
home. And yeah.
I had never seen anything like it until I went to Bangkok, and we were in
Mm.
the mall in Bangkok, and we were like, oh, we're hungry, like let's go eat in the food court,
Yeah.
and we were expecting like mall style food court,
Yeah.
and it was exactly like what you're saying. It was not mall style. It was probably
Mm.
some of the best food we've ever had, like in a mall, and
Yeah.
it was all like cooked to order, like legit Thai food, and like there were other options, and it's like you're saying, like they had like the artisan style, and that was
Mm.
my first experience with something like that. I was like, wow, this is wild,
Yeah.
and then yeah, like as we started exploring more of Europe, because before that, a lot of like where I've traveled to is always like either like more exotic in the sense of like island ish,
Hmm.
and right, there's not a lot of time spent looking for like food options. You're not spending a lot of time in big cities, or it's like third world ish. Right, we
Hmm.
always traveled like third world ish because it's cheap.
Yeah.
And so as we started exploring more of Europe, we started seeing exactly what you're saying, and it's really cool because here, like you said, we have some of that in Denver, but it's very very like niche, like you go to it, right?
Yeah.
Like here you're like, oh, let's meet at Avanti's,
Yeah.
right? Whereas there it's like, oh, I'm just stopping off for like I'm driving somewhere, oh, I'm hungry, like let me stop off and
Yeah.
get this thing, or oh, let me pick up some homemade bread, or
Yeah.
um, Ireland was funny. Similar thing happened in Ireland. I was like, we stopped at a gas station, put gas in the car, walk inside, fresh baked bread, fresh made Irish butter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I'll take some of that.
Yeah.
I was like,
That's
absolutely.
awesome.
Like, no, that doesn't happen in America.
No.
So, yeah.
It's fun. In Argentina, they
Mm-hmm.
have so oh my gosh, I cannot think of it right now. What's the tea they mate, right? Yeah.
Matcha.
No, mate.
I don't.
It's just like in am I saying that right? It's not matcha. It's basically yerba mate. Like they put it
Mm-hmm.
they everyone has their
Oh, yeah,
little
yeah, yeah.
like gourd and then you put it in and you drink it out of a straw and it's like
It
everyone
looks
does it.
like they have the yerba mate. It looks like yerba mate in
Yeah.
America. Okay, so
Yeah.
yes, I know
So
what you're
it's
talking about.
mate and they it's not necessarily have to be made out of gourd, but it's this like you have your mate cup and then a metal straw that comes out and it's just a thing everyone does and everyone shares, like you just pass it around. So
Oh, interesting.
yeah, and
This is
then
in
once
Argentina.
yeah, and once you like tap out like of the circle, like there's like a whole system to it. And I think you like can't like skip out and then like come back in, or like I don't know, and you have to go in the same order. um
This is like an experience, or like stop
mhm.
it.
It's well, but it's just it's an everyday thing for people there. So gas stations, and then they go around with the big thermoses of hot water
Uh huh.
so that they can like pour it into their mate. Um,
Interesting.
and so gas stations charge you to fill up hot water.
Oh,
Like you go
weird.
in and like fill up your mate thermos.
Huh. But then you
Yeah.
have to share your thermos with everyone. Like you see a stranger and they're like, "Hey, let me get a swig of that."
No, you can't. It's not like you can't jump into it once it starts. So like
So
people will
okay,
drink it on their own too. Like they'll just have their own
got it.
thermos. They'll just be walking down the street with their gourd and their like metal straw.
Hmm.
And this is what's really hilarious is I was there when the pandemic started.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this whole thing of like, do we there was like, I mean, we were all on the same property, weren't
Mm-hmm.
allowed to leave. There was like 10 to 12 of us,
Yeah.
right? So we weren't like interacting with anyone to begin with.
Yep.
But I don't think there was ever even a question if we would stop sharing mate.
That's
Like it
awesome.
wouldn't
So
like it's like nope, like we're just gonna keep
keep
like
passing this one
I
around.
don't think people ever like even I don't know if other places there were like, nope, I'm gonna have my own mate now. Like people still just kept passing it around.
That's funny. They have their masks on and but still passing
Well,
their
we
mate
didn't have
around.
masks at the
No,
time.
yeah, yeah.
This was like
You were there. You
literally
were
week
there right
one.
at the beginning. I remember
Yeah.
you were there right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like you got trapped there, right? Like
Like
trapped,
kind of. I
right?
decided not to take an earlier flight back because I
Mm-hmm.
thought it'd be over in 2 weeks. And so I was planning.
Joke's on
I
you.
know. Got punked.
Where's Ashton
I
Kutcher?
know. Oh, that
He
was
needs
such
to
a
come
good
out about
show.
it. All right.
I was planning to travel after the retreat, and so I
Mm-hmm.
just thought, oh, I'll wait till things open up, and then I'll still get to travel a little bit, like a week, and
Mm-hmm.
then head back.
Yeah.
Well, when it looked like that wasn't going to happen, then I was on the embassy emails and ended up because all the flights, all the buses, everything was canceled. So
Hmm.
ended up getting on. They had one flight that the embassy like organized wasn't free. It was very, 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 very expensive.
Oh, wild.
But
And that was the flight you took home?
yeah. So I shared a cab ride with 2 other Americans for 20 hours.
You were in a cab for 20 hours?
It was like a van cab, so it was all right.
Holy shit. Because you were like in the middle of nowhere and you had to get to the city.
We had to get to Buenos Aires.
Where the airport was?
And we were in Patagonia. Shit. Yeah, like northern Patagonia. And
wow, that must have been an expensive cab.
Well, you know why it was expensive? Is because we had to pay for 2 ways, because they had to come from Buenos Aires, pay 2 cab drivers came together so they could trade off driving. Yeah. So basically we had paid for 2 directions because that's the only way we could get one there to then take us back to Buenos Aires.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. And then we were going to be dropped off at the airport for like that morning of the flight, and the flight got postponed.
Oh my gosh.
And then we ended up having to try to find a hotel room. And no one was
in the middle of a pandemic.
No one was allowing. Hilton was the only one that allowed people in, and you had to like prove that you had been stamped in like 2 weeks before, and we had all been there for longer than 2 weeks. Yeah.
Wow.
And
that's wild.
It was so interesting. Yeah. Because they were also like really strict about everything, and restricting travel between provinces. And so we had to go, we were leaving and the border said, okay, of like where we were, said you have to have gone to the hospital and gotten proof that you're not sick and all these things. So like we went to the hospital and
holy shit.
Yeah. And then we had to talk to these doctors and they took our temperature or whatever, asked our symptoms, and then gave us the approval card. And we had to carry like that we had a flight, all like proof that we were actually
trying
leaving.
To get out of,
because people weren't, we had some friends who were working in the town over, but it was a different, like, it might not be province. That's what I'm just calling it. But, and they had to decide if they were going to continue to work on building that airship there. And some of them stayed in that province, and the others stayed in the one that El Bolson was, because they weren't allowing people to go cross over even for work.
Wow.
So
that's wild.
Yeah. And then we had, there was a time, I swear, in like less than a mile, we got stopped like 3 times, and they would check all
by like
police,
by like checkpoints.
Yeah,
by police,
and they would check everything. And then there would be stretches where no one would. We'd stop, but they wouldn't check anything. And like, yeah, it was so interesting. We had to sleep. They weren't letting any transportation out of El Bolson until like, I can't remember what time. So we literally like the cab arrived in the middle of the night. We went to the hospital thing, and then we slept in the car for like an hour and a half before. And then the border people like knocked on our window, like, okay, you can go now. We're like, great.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What an adventure.
Yeah, it was interesting for sure.
I wonder what it's like there now.
I know. I'm very curious. I should, the guy who owns the Earthships and who's built a handful of them, and they're not, the other ones he's not calling Earthships because he's not doing like the official Earthship program, but they're that style. He actually just messaged me yesterday. He was like, when are you hosting a yoga retreat down here? I just made 2 yoga salons. I think they mean studio.
Yes. That's
Marcelo.
Awesome.
He's great. But I was like, oh, where are you building your yoga salon? He's like, at the El Bolson and Piedra Parada. So it's like, oh, maybe.
That's cool.
I don't want to do any retreats international till like travel's super chill.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we're going to Mexico.
Yeah. Mexico they don't have restrictions.
So yep, so that's a big reason we chose Mexico. Even because like even Hawaii is, we have friends that just went to Hawaii, and like they were getting asked for their vaccine card everywhere, and having to wear masks, and like fuck that.
Yeah.
right? Like not happening. And so we haven't traveled. Last time we left the country was for Curacao in November of 2019.
Yeah.
And so we haven't been out of the country since.
Yeah.
And so it's gonna be interesting to see. From everything that I've read, right? Mexico has no restrictions right now. There's no restrictions to get in. We do have to have a COVID test to get into the country.
Into the U.S.?
To the U.S.
Yeah.
Yep. So coming back, you have to have a COVID test, which is fucking stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Not trying to get all COVID-spiracy here, but I'm like looking up like what do you need, right? Because like I'm like, all right, fuck, we gotta find a place to schedule these tests. No, you could do an at-home test.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's stupid because one, the at-home tests, the accuracy can be argued, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you can argue the accuracy tells you what you need to know about the accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
But two, who's taking it?
Yeah.
Like, right? Like, it's an at-home test. And like, I'm not like, I don't want any of these things. Like, I don't want to have to do any of it.
Yeah.
So it's not that I'm saying I wish like it was more formal. I just think it's such bullshit. I think it's nonsense that,
mm-hmm.
oh, you have to have a COVID test to come back in. I'm a fucking U.S. citizen. Like,
yeah, what are they going to do? Tell you have to stay in Mexico?
Right. Like,
what is the response? Like, you're quarantined if
I don't know.
Huh.
Yeah. And I'm quarantined in Mexico?
Yeah.
How about you just let me come home?
Yeah.
And so I can quarantine in my home.
Because do they ask for the test when you arrive back in the U.S. or do they ask for it before you get on the plane?
Before you get on the plane.
Okay.
So you have to have it before you get on the plane.
Okay.
But I haven't seen, like, I don't know if I'm showing it at the ticket counter.
But you don't need it to fly to so it's like, that's the thing is like, you don't need a COVID test to fly within the U.S.
Right. And I don't need so
why do you need it to fly back to the U.S.?
Right. I can have COVID and travel anywhere in the U.S. that I want. I can have COVID and bring it to Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't want me having COVID potentially and bringing it back to the U.S. Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's really just, and then I don't know if you saw, but they're lifting all mask mandates. So like, we're not going to have to wear a mask in the airports anymore.
Oh, when is that?
Yeah, right. April 18th.
Dang it.
And I'm like, where the fuck are they getting these random ass dates?
Is that tax day?
April 15th.
Once they take all our money.
Yeah, right. I'm like, where the fuck are they? Like, if you could end on April 18th, end it now. I don't need to.
Right? Why did they? Yeah, why are they? They're like, okay, in a month it'll be okay. It'll be safe.
Right. And what's funny is in the airports, right? I think you've traveled in the airport since. But like, one, you have these restaurants and people drinking water, and like, when I'm in the airport, I don't have a mask on.
Yeah.
No one says shit. No one cares in the airport. It's on the plane that people have problems.
Yeah.
Right. And like, I'm told, like, yeah, like I've actually traveled very little by plane because I don't want to wear a mask. And that's the one, like, I don't feel like getting arrested.
Yeah.
It's the one place that they will enforce it. They will arrest you for whatever the crime is. I have no clue.
Yeah.
But
breaking a federal law. That's what it is.
It's not a federal law.
Oh, yeah. Federal.
It's a mandate. It's not a law.
Yeah, but they say something federal. They say, because I've heard people say you get a $3,000 fine for, I can't remember the way they say regulation? Do they say it like that? I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no clue what it is. But anyway, like, it's silly. And like, I was on a flight from Florida back to Denver. And again, it's like hit and miss. It depends on just who your flight attendants are.
Yeah.
100%. Because we were on a flight from here to Alaska last July, and they were fucking mean about it. Like, there was a person who I don't know what happened to them, but the cops literally, we landed in Anchorage. We couldn't get off the plane. Cops had to come on, take this drunk lady off the plane.
Mm-hmm.
And because she kept taking her mask off. And like I was sleeping and I had my mask. I was doing the whole like chin strap thing. Not even the chin strap. Like it was like over my mouth, but not over my nose.
Yeah.
And literally the guy woke me up to make me put my mask above my nose.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, you're a dick. Like, whatever. Like, he just takes his job really seriously.
Yeah.
And then on the flight, right? So again, that was just a bad experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then the flight that I was on from Florida back to Denver, it was like the complete opposite. The stewardess knew I didn't want to wear my mask because I walked on the plane without it on.
Yeah.
And she was like, she told me, she's like, I need you to put your mask on. And I listened, right? Like, I'm not trying to be a dick about it. Like, that's the other thing. It's like people think, oh, you're being a dick. Like, no, I'm not. Like, if you're going to tell me to put it on, I'll put it on.
Yeah.
And so like, I put it on, but she knew I didn't want to wear my mask.
Yeah.
And the entire flight, she kept walking by. She's like, more coffee, more water. She would just bring me water.
Yeah.
She'd be like, here you go. Here's a cup of water for you. And like, she knew, like, just keep this guy like with something, you know, drinking.
Yeah.
And she didn't say a thing to me. And me and the lady I was sitting next to, neither of us had our mask on the entire flight.
Yeah.
So we took off. And then once food and beverages were served, they came off and yeah, that was it. And I was like, wow, that was a totally different experience.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting to see, you know, each person and how they operate the plane. And you could see on that Alaska flight, like 2 of the flight attendants didn't care.
Yeah.
And it was this one flight attendant that was just not nice.
Yeah.
He didn't get laid the night before or something.
I think it's, well, and here's whatever your feeling is about, not you, Alan, I know your feeling. People's feeling is about mass and the efficacy of mass. If you can take it off to drink and eat and you're not like quote unquote social distancing, right? Like that's the thing, is we're all crammed. If the airlines don't have to separate us and give us space, because that was the one thing that they initially were,
remember the start?
The most, like the best way to not spread a virus of any sort, right? Any virus is social distancing. But if we social distance on a plane, the airlines will go bankrupt. They already got bailed out, right? Yeah. And so instead of requiring airlines to follow something health wise that would be the most beneficial, they put it on the consumer, which is just, that's what I think bothered me more than anything is the double standard of bailing out big corporate and not holding them accountable, because all of it is like, if you really believe like this is killing the world, you know, I don't know how to say it then you would say that there has to be space between people on the flight. Like,
and do you remember when they first did that?
I flew back. Well, my flight from Argentina was crammed with people. And that was before there was like mask requirements or anything like that. And then in the US, there was like,
leave the middle seat
open. There was like only 5 people on my flight.
Oh shit. Really?
It was like, I had like 10 rows.
That's awesome.
I was like, whoa.
That's amazing.
So
but for a while they did the like leave the middle seat thing open.
Yeah.
And like they tried that for a little bit. My first flight was my flight to Alaska in July of last year, before I got on a plane again. But yeah, like I remember that, leave the middle seat open, and that doesn't work either.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're still on top of people. There's still people in front of you.
I think it comes down to is like, people have, like, if you're uncomfortable flying, then don't fly.
Don't fly. Don't fly.
You know, like that's what it is. If you're afraid of what can happen being in an environment with a lot of other people, like don't do it.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't know.
Yeah. So that it's just going to be really interesting, this experience to Mexico.
Yeah.
With who knows? Like I have no clue. Like if how it is in Mexico. If I don't think they're going to be pretty wild about it. How these airlines are going to be now that they know it's ending on the 18th. Like
yeah.
Even right, like when they said the mask mandates were ending here in Colorado, they put it out to some random date. But then just everyone stopped wearing their masks before the date. And like no one said anything. So I'm like wondering, like, is that how it's going to be in these airports and the airlines? Like they're just whatever.
Yeah.
Like, again, what's the difference between March 22nd and April 18th?
The difference is I'm not flying after April 18th.
When are you flying?
April 4th, and I think I'm coming back like this.
Where are you going?
Florida. Yeah. That's the last part of my training, and then I'll spend time with my parents, and my brother will actually be there at the same time for a different conference thing. So we'll both,
all the Allisons will be together.
Yeah, we'll both be at my parents for a few days. So
awesome.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So you got some travel coming up. So is this the last part of your school? I know that you said like you had one part that like you had to wait for, and you're gonna have to wait for it till next year. But
so this is the last two parts of my breath work, the integral breath work training, and then everything else is online. Everything else I can take online, and I still have there's like a 4-month thing in the fall. That's all online, and then 2 other modules that I can take whenever. And then after that, I have what they call putting it all together, which I'm already doing because any training I have I can use with clients. So I'm already mixing and matching.
Cool.
And so it's just, that's kind of funny. I mean, I get why they have to do it because not everyone is necessarily like comfortable with knowing how to navigate that, but I can't do the one this summer until I finish all those other modules, so I have to wait a year
until 2023.
So summer 2023 I can start putting it all together, and then I have another 7 to 8 months of case studies after that.
Wow.
So
when will you be officially
a yoga therapist?
Yeah, yoga 800 YT, whatever.
Well, it's funny because I don't even know if I can register with yoga. I don't think I register with Yoga Alliance for that. Okay. It's through the International Association of Yoga Therapy. And they're a separate entity because they're working more on trying to get it accepted clinically. Just like occupational therapy and
physical
acupuncture,
therapy,
like all the things that weren't really, even like chiropractic work wasn't accepted for a really long time. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So when are you officially a yoga therapist?
I think it's another 1.5 years probably.
Got it. So like end of 2023 and beginning of 2024.
Yeah.
If it was easy, everyone would do it, right?
Yeah.
You got to. I've been doing these goal setting workshops, and I tell people you got to pay the price. Mm-hmm. I think we even talked about it on maybe one of our last episode. Yeah, like you got to pay the price.
Yeah.
And for this, the price is however many years you've been doing it.
And I knew it was when I signed up, they said it's a 2 to 4 year program.
Yeah.
And they said we don't recommend 2 years because it's a lot. And honestly, there's a lot of why it can't be done in 2 years is also because the cadence of when they offer things. So
you'd have to be just like hyper available for anything and everything to just get it done. And
a lot of them are once a year. So you can't do it 1 year. You have to wait a whole year to do it again. or to be able to sign up for it. So.
And there's probably prereqs too. Like you probably can't jump into something more advanced before.
Some of it. There's like kind of different. The only one that there's really like a prereq. Well, when I did there's 2 levels of the ninja training. So you obviously have to do the first one before you can do the advanced. But then the only one that really has prereq is applied anatomy. And for that, you have to take general anatomy, general assessment, and Ayurveda. So you have to take those 3 before doing applied anatomy. So
interesting that they make you take Ayurveda before applied anatomy.
Because you have to understand the doshas and like and energy and like the composition of also like what is going to build heat, what's calming and cooling, like all those, I think, going into applied anatomy. Because the applied anatomy is, general anatomy is really literally a college lecture that I'm watching. That's 40 hours of college lecture. Oof. So that's very little, like really literal anatomy, just like no understanding anatomy and where it is. But applied anatomy is going to bring in like the energetics, the movement pieces, and
how things work, why they work the way they work, and
but then the yogic pieces to it too. So like in poses too, right? Like how is the pranavayu, how is it moving in the body, which directions, and what would this pose? We're already doing that with Ayurveda. We had to say like, what would you in a pose, what are some cues that you would give someone who is pitta, right? Because the whole thing is trying to relate to like different personalities. So if I work with a pitta individual, I have to understand kind of they're very much, I want to do it right. They're very like much more like mental and analytical and like check the boxes, and you want to give them this list of tasks to do. And so the Ayurveda is like, how do I relate to and like resonate with different personalities? And if something is out of balance, like if I do this pose, am I aggravating that more? Or can I bring a Vata person who's flighty and spacey? Can I like ground them, right? And how would I do this pose to ground them? Or what would I say to ground them? Or you can't give a Vata person too much because they won't do it.
They'll be overwhelmed.
They'll be overwhelmed. Or like you need to give them like short things to do. So it's like Ayurvedic informed. And I've actually really enjoyed that, starting to like see and weave that piece in. But Ayurveda in itself is like a whole, probably in 2 to 4 years, so. But it makes you think too about like, my intake form, like I asked about digestion, I asked about bowel movements, like all of that stuff is like all part of, can give you insight into what's happening like on the psychosomatic or psychospiritual side of things as well.
For sure.
So
diet, all of it.
But
being away this last time, I was gone for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And my diet was shit and my anxiety levels were higher. And like I knew it was the food.
Yeah.
And like I got back home and my buddy from Arizona texted me. He's like, "How you doing?" And I was like, "It's nice to be like back into a good diet. Like, like traveling is not a good excuse for a shitty diet.
Yeah,
it's an excuse, but it's not a good one. And but like being home, like having my rice cooker, having all the things like that make my diet simple." It's nice, and I can feel like how the food, and then we went out for mellow mushroom yesterday, and it just fucked me up, like both like digestive wise, but also like, again, I could feel like the anxiety, that all of it. I was just like, oh. And once you know that like that's the food, like I had this like conversation with myself of like, once you know that that's what's doing it, you don't want to do that anymore. Right? You're like, fuck that. I just want to feel good.
Yeah.
And that means eating, quote, clean, right? Like eating my rice, eating my meat, eggs, right? Like it's, and it took, right, my 75 hard journey to, I think, really expose that, because I was so regimented about what I was eating. And now, like, I dabble back into the donuts, the cans of Coke, like these other things that absolutely are not good for me. And I can feel it, and I can feel when I'm off, and I can feel when I'm doing good, and I'm feeling good about things.
Yeah.
And I think that relates to a lot of, right, like, right, like you're a Pitta, right? Like I'm a Pitta. Caffeine or Coke and sugar, I don't know, you tell me, but like that probably isn't a good thing for, it's like gasoline on the fire, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. They're kind of not, yeah, caffeine in general is a weird thing, like coffee. And I was like, well, I'm drinking my coffee, so sorry.
Right.
But I guess
we made it back to coffee.
What are your digestive tendencies? Do you like go the heartburn route? Are you like gassy or bloaty?
Other gassy and
okay,
bloaty.
so that's like gassy and bloaty is like vata, too much air, right? Like it's literal wind, air, right?
Right.
And so I don't know. Yeah, again, like this would be like an Ayurvedic like actual doctor who would know a lot more around it. But I think pittas can have some sweets because you don't want to do more fire per se, right? That will aggravate it. But and we've talked about this on here actually. Interesting enough, like pittas should not have ice water because you have to, the fire goes like builds more
because you have to warm it
to be able to process it. Yeah. But pittas should, one thing I do know about them is they should be eating consistently, and so like very like regimen, because as you know, you get hangry, and that is like very much a pitta characteristic. You're kind of like always hungry, and so they're able to eat actually more frequently. Because they have
graze all day long.
Yeah, because their digestive fire tends, as long as they're in balance, right? In balance, not imbalance, or out of balance, but their digestive fire is really good. So that's yeah,
and that's all part of it. I noticed, right, like being away, like I don't eat breakfast, and right, like, or I stop at fucking McDonald's, like shit, and run around, right? Stop at McDonald's, grab this shitty food, right? Grab a donut, grab the, right? Like go hours without eating. Where when I'm home, right, it's constantly feeding me, and it's feeding me the good things. It's feeding me the things that I know that I need.
Yeah.
So that it's great that you say that, because that is totally me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I was looking today because I think I'm Bata Kappa, which are like opposites, kind of like.
Yeah.
And so I have
water and air, right?
So Vata would be air and ether, and then Kappa's water and earth.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. And I've been exploring just my diet in general for a few months now, because I started to have these weird aversions to.
Well, you've been exploring your diet for a while, because for a while ago you were doing
intermittent fasting.
Right? So now you're onto something new. So you've been playing around a bit.
I was like doing intermittent fasting for a long time, and I've always been pretty like low starch. Like I used to not eat a lot of breads and pastas and things like that. If I did starches, it would be like potatoes and sweet potatoes, and I still do that, but I do eat bread, like breads and things, but
Mm-hmm.
I used to be much like not paleo, but I would tend towards that with a few exceptions.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't eat a lot of dairy, and now I eat more dairy. I I think with the Ayurveda, I think anything that I might build in, it's important for me to be like a test subject, right? So
Mm-hmm.
just seeing like how does this work for me?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and another part is like I started to get weird bouts of nausea,
Mm.
and I was like, oh, it's not around my cycle, my moon cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what is it? And I started to document my diet. And I did notice, like, immediately after, like, eggs, I've been weirdly, like, they make me sick. And I don't know if it's at certain
Hmm.
times of the month because like, for women, our hormones are regulated on a 28-ish, you know, 28-ish day cycle, whereas
Really? I didn't know
but
that.
men's cycle, men have a
Yeah.
cycle, it's a
Yeah.
24-hour cycle, so you don't actually notice those fluctuations as much
Hmm.
because they cycle through 24 hours, so you regulate
Hmm.
daily, whereas we regulate over a period of 4 weeks, which means we see the heighten and lowering of the different
Mm-hmm.
hormones a little more in our body than if it was compressed into
It's
a
one of your
one day.
it's one of your
Yeah.
superpowers.
But that was all to um, just start to, yeah, does this work? Like, what works for me? Um, Intermittent fasting is pretty hard to do when I pick up like my running mileage.
Mm.
And so that I think this
Because you
summer,
need that fuel.
it's just like timing, and it's
Mm.
good training to be able to do big runs, but then when you're actually doing it, the fueling timing is challenging because you like to start them in the morning, but if I'm not eating to 12 typically, like I can't go do a
Mm.
4-hour run. I am not someone who can do 4 hours of running without eating. I
Yeah.
know there's people who can, but um
I think I've talked about it on here. Ganesh did Long's Peak.
yeah,
We did Long's Peak together, and he did it fasted,
yeah,
not eating. He didn't eat the entire time.
yeah,
He didn't eat for it was like a 24-hour span
yeah,
of no food, and he crushed Long's Peak. It
yeah,
was so impressive.
yeah. And
But yeah,
I still do. I like to do like a 24-hour fast every once in a while, and
mm-hmm.
I do like to do intermittent fasting here and there. But I just, yeah, I am looking at more right now. I'm looking at the foods that I'm actually eating and playing
Mm.
around with that. I
And seeing how it affects you, affects your moods,
Well,
affects
that
your.
nausea stuff, I was like, what is
Mm-hmm.
going on? And so the only thing I could link it to was eggs. So I cut eggs and then I was like, oh gosh, that's like something I eat every day.
Mm-hmm.
But the timing wise is like right before I went to Arizona. So it's like, well, this is perfect. I'll do like yogurt and granola for breakfast because on the road, like when I'm camping, that's really easy to do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I do, like with dairy, that's like one of the areas that I'm very strict about doing, like organic grass fed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I do whole milk, yogurt, and because the fat and the protein like
Yeah.
is sustaining, and that's what I was nervous
Yeah.
about, like dropping eggs, was getting something that would hold me over because like a bowl of oatmeal doesn't hold me over.
Mm-hmm.
So if I make my own granola, I can put like less sugar in it and then have the oats piece with some more like substance with that whole
With
milk
the
yogurt.
yogurt. Yeah. Yep.
And now I add in like either pumpkin to like pure pumpkin puree, or I've been actually
Hmm.
cooking acorn squash and like
Oh, cool.
meshing it together with like cinnamon. And so I'll put like
Hmm.
a scoop of that couple scoops of yogurt in my homemade granola. And it's
Nice.
crazy because now I crave, it's so good to me. But dairy, I didn't really ever eat that much yogurt and cheese. And so
I, for the longest time, didn't even pay attention to it not being whole milk yogurt. And this was just recent that now I've switched to whole milk yogurt.
Yeah.
And same and I've only found 2 brands that do whole milk yogurt. Everyone else is low fat.
Yeah.
And it's wild. And I forget why I switched, but it was because a lot of these low fat options have these
they have added stuff.
Yes, yeah, the added
sugars,
sweeteners, the added sugar, the added. Some of them don't even put the added sugar though. They'll put the added, the aspartame or the stevia, which they say is natural, but I call bullshit on that. I don't like any of that shit.
Yeah.
And so the whole milk yogurt that I found, I'm like, oh wow, and it has a different taste.
It's really, so good.
Yeah, it tastes nourishing.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, this is really good. And now I'll eat it before I used to just eat yogurt in the mornings.
Yeah.
With my breakfast, I would have eggs, all the other stuff. And,
yeah.
But even last night, I was craving something sweet. I was craving cookies.
Yeah.
And 1, didn't have cookies in the house. But 2, trying to avoid cookies. And I was like, oh, let me eat some yogurt. And totally satisfied my craving.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, that works. So that was pretty cool.
I've been making my own yogurt.
Really?
So this is why I don't have time for any. This is why I'm
okay, bring some. Do you have some?
Yeah.
Can you bring some tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll have to bring it.
Please bring some. I want to try what.
Yeah. Do you have an Instapot?
No.
Okay. So
no, I have a rice cooker.
I bought an Instapot to do. I'm doing other things in it too, but I literally was I'm eating all this yogurt, and I really want to my dream, and this is
how the hell do you make yogurt?
Okay? So
because isn't it alive? Isn't it like a bacteria?
Yeah, but you just take a culture.
Like a bacteria?
So basically, a yogurt culture would be another yogurt. That's doesn't have anything added. It has to have live cultures in it, and it just can't have any flavoring added to it or anything like that.
No,
so you take a couple scoops of so if it's ultra pasteurized or ultra filtered, you don't have to heat it up to 180 degrees. You can do a cold start yogurt. But if it is just pasteurized, and you basically heat it up to 180 degrees, and then you cool it back down to 110. Once it's under 110, I pull out a cup of milk and I mix it with the cultures, whisk it in, and then I whisk it into the whole thing, and then you let it sit for on the yogurt setting, which I don't know how warm it keeps it.
There's a yogurt setting on your Instapot?
On an Instapot, yeah.
Oh my gosh!
So it keeps it at a even
this
temperature.
This is a thing. People making yogurt.
That's how I discovered. Well, I've been eating all this yogurt, and I thought I should try to make this. I make my own granola. I make a lot of my own things from scratch. Right. I was like, why wouldn't I do yogurt? And everyone's like, it's cheaper, and the Instapot is a really
whole milk yogurt
easy
is fucking
way.
expensive.
I know. Yeah.
That's the one downfall is how much I do spend on yogurt.
Yeah. But but you're not paying hospital bills because you're eating good stuff.
Right.
But yeah, so it sits for 8 to 10 hours. It's pretty.
But what did you put in the pot?
The milk, yeah.
So literally you take pasteurized milk because it's not ultra pasteurized. You put it in the pot.
The milk I use is ultra pasteurized.
So you do the cold start or no?
I did this one that I have right now. So this is my second batch, and this one I did a cold start because I had this organic grass-fed milk from whatever. So put that in. It
was ultra pasteurized. You put it in. You just put it on the yogurt setting.
I mix in the cultures, and then I put it on the yogurt setting.
So you pour milk in.
Yeah.
You have yogurt cultures, which you obtained.
Was a previous yogurt.
How much of it though?
Um,
You know a ratio?
like two. They say like 2 tablespoons. I did 2 tablespoons for like the quart. So, and that
Got
is
it.
a fine.
Okay.
Like that isn't just like a wing it thing. I read. So I'm a wing it kind of gal, and I was like,
So
shit. I
like
hope I did that right because
so like a quart of milk.
yeah,
So you put a quart of milk in the Instant Pot.
yeah.
Then you did your whatever, your ratio
Mix
that
the
you figured out.
cultures. And then you put on the
Okay.
yogurt setting and you let it sit for 8 to 10 hours. So I just put it on overnight and I do 10. The
Okay.
longer it sits, it's the tangier it gets.
Okay. So if you want it like sweeter, so let it sit less.
Not sweeter, just less tangy.
Less tangy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just creamy.
All
It's
right.
gonna taste just really creamy.
Okay.
And then you
So
technically
you like it tangy?
I like it tangy. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Technically you can eat it right after that, but I make
And
it
it's
like
yogurt.
Greek style. So I actually I put a little colander with a cheesecloth and I put the yogurt
Mhm.
in there and the whey drains out of it.
Okay, because I like Greek yogurt.
Yeah. So then
So
it's just
what makes it Greek? You're taking the whey out of
yeah.
it? Huh. Okay.
So
So you do that,
and then it's
and
like
then
it can
whatever's
turn
left.
into like a freaking cream cheese. Like if you let too much whey drop out of it, it gets super thick, and then you just mix more whey. Like you take that whey and put it back in to make
Put it
it.
back in.
Yeah. So you just let it sit.
Oh,
Like
is that what, like when I open my thing of
Mhm.
yogurt and it's all like gross and liquidy? That's the whey.
yeah. Mhm.
And that's why you stir it around.
Yeah. And so like I use the whey. I used the whey recently for buttermilk pancakes, and I can throw them into biscuits, or I can mix them in. Like you can use it as like replace water or milk in like a lot of recipes with whey. I tried to make like scalloped potatoes with them.
You could be like Little Miss Muffin and eat curds and whey. I feel like we're going on a Forrest Gump
Oh
path
my
here. Weigh this, weigh that.
Well, I was like, I don't want to lose all this weight. It's amazing how
Yeah.
much like you lose from the yogurt by draining the whey, but you can have it with the whey. It's just
Okay.
yeah.
So you drain the whey, you now have this, you put it in like a container and you consume at will.
Yeah.
And then do you put some vanilla in it? Like, do you put any
I
sugar?
haven't flavored mine because
okay. Do you add any sugar or no?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I don't. But I don't.
Okay.
You can add.
Do you add any honey or any sweetener?
No.
Like, if I did, I would add like honey, not sugar, right? Like,
yeah.
That's the way I think.
But my granola is with maple syrup, so that already
there's your sugar,
yeah.
right? A little bit of a sweetener to it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's kind of nice. Like if I would recommend if you're going to make your own yogurt, make it plain and then add it when you eat it, because like you can use it for like sour cream. You can use it like for so many different things if you just leave it plain.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Please bring some tomorrow. I would really love to try this if you have some.
Oh, I have to. This is what's funny about like getting ready to
travel.
And
your granola. And your granola, because I would love to try your granola.
This batch isn't as good as it usually. I've been trying different. Like I have my foolproof one, but I've been like trying thicker layers of it, and this one turned out a little like just a little less. It's good, but it's just a little less crispy.
Cool. I'm excited for this now.
But yeah, it's me getting ready for this road trip is like, how many things can I make myself before going, and then realizing I have time for none of it. So
road tripping is a science.
I know. And I don't I try not to eat at gas stations. I'll get my coffee, but I really I'm packing my breakfast, like I'm packing my lunches, like I don't want to snack on crap food. So I'm like, got my elk jerky, gonna cook up some other like meat pieces to eat, carrots, like yeah.
Awesome.
So
I love it.
Yeah. Road trip.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. Right back to road trip. Right back to getting coffee.
I know.
That's cool. I had no clue you can make yogurt.
Yeah.
Like wouldn't have even like crossed my mind.
Yeah.
And
don't ask. I shouldn't learn the things you can make on your own, because again, I try to do all of it from scratch, and it's like I don't have time for like, I just, yeah.
See, like, there are absolutely things like I'm not gonna take on
Yeah.
to, like, you know what, I'm just gonna let the store do that, or right, like
Yogurt's
I'm just gonna
so
buy.
freaking
But
good, man.
that's the thing is, like, one, like I was saying, yogurt's expensive,
Yeah.
and two, if it's easy enough to just, right, like I don't have an Instapot yet, but again, the money that I would save buying the Instapot,
Yeah.
and then just getting, right, we have milk delivered to my house,
Yeah.
right, just boom,
Yeah.
make
So
yogurt,
you'd
and
have to
then
pasteurize it, probably.
so it is
Oh, okay.
pasteurized. I don't think it's ultra
Okay.
pasteurized though. I think it's the lowest form that they're allowed to, because raw milk, I think I don't think they're allowed to like sell raw milk, or like there's like you need a special license to sell raw milk.
Yeah. I think those people
And
do
so
like co-op, like you kind of like buy into the farm versus.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the one that we have, I remember like they came by, they did like a taste test to milk. It was crazy. But it's like the lowest that you could do.
Yeah.
Like it's like just cooked enough that they don't have to worry about like bacteria. But like this milk also goes bad quicker than like an ultra pasteurized. But yeah, I mean we could always talk more about this. We don't have to cover the full episode, but yeah, like that's cool. I like it. I think yogurt could be one of those things that I wouldn't mind doing, because that you can make it in big batch.
Yeah.
Right? Because I eat probably 8 ounces of yogurt a day.
Yeah.
So.
And it's, I mean, when you can do a cold start version, it's really nice because you just mix it in and then set it, and it's 8 to 10. Like it feels like it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of just it like transition points. Okay, let me set it. Okay, great. Let me taste it. And I was like, it's not as tangy as I want. I'm gonna leave it in for longer. Okay, now let me transfer it to the draining part to make it Greek. The only part that is time consuming is when you have to pasteurize it, because that's what I did in my first batch. And so the Instapot's nice because once it gets to 180, it like beeps, and then I go. You just have to check that all over is 180. If not, you need to heat it longer, and then you have to let it cool back down. And so it's still a lot of just like sitting and waiting, but that's a little more intensive, or like takes more of your time. But
now, can you use your homemade yogurt as the culture? So like to initially start it, you need to have a store-bought culture.
Yeah, you can buy yogurt cultures, but I just use a culture of a yogurt that I like. That's what they said. If you like the flavor of that yogurt, like use that culture.
And then from there, you can use your own.
Yeah, so they say like every time you make a yogurt, pull out, like you can make like 2 ice cube trays, but you have to, if you're freezing your yogurt, you have to let it thaw out before you mix it in. So I have like 4 ice cubes of culture frozen, because the longer they say to take it right away, because that's when the cultures are most active. So like they're less like powerful if I were to take like the end of that yogurt and use it, and you probably have the chance of like more contamination too. So it's like make your yogurt
as it ages, potentially more bacteria is growing too.
So yeah, or like make your yogurt, pull some for your next culture, and then or for your next batch, eat the yogurt.
And freezing it's okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I love it. I'm gonna have to so the only thing is I don't necessarily like a tangy yogurt, but we're gonna try yours anyway.
Mine's not super tangy. I mean, it's more creamy.
Okay, I'm excited for this.
But yeah,
the things we get excited for as adults.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Homemade yogurt, man, whole new world. Never going back to store-bought.
Love it. What time are you gonna leave in the morning?
As soon as I get everything done.
As soon as you make your 3 batches of yogurt.
Yeah, no.
Do your taxes.
I've now given up on. I had grand plans for what food I was taking, and now it's looking like I'm only gonna probably cook some meat.
The road to hell is paved in good intentions.
Yeah, I also haven't packed at all, so.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
Well, it was great chatting with you. I don't.
Yeah.
Let's not keep you any longer than you have to. Drive safe tomorrow.
You got me talking about coffee and yogurt. I just couldn't stop.
Yeah, I know. I love it. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Surprise trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll chat more tomorrow. And
sweet.
It's good chatting.
Yeah. Let's just take 3 big inhales and exhales together. How about that?
Let's do it. Let me do a journal prompt real
Okay.
quick so we can end on our breath. Grab your journal, and sometimes, right, write about, maybe not, fuck that. Don't grab your journal. Today's journal prompt is going to be different. Pick up your phone and call a friend. Call a friend. I don't care if it's someone you talk to often, right? Don't text them. Don't email them. Don't, right? Pick up the phone and call them. And just fucking talk to them about random bullshit, because that's cool. Sometimes you just need to talk to your friends about some random bullshit. Talk to them about yogurt. Talk to them about, right, what they have going on in their life. Right? Maybe it's a friend you haven't talked to in, or you text only, you haven't talked to them on the phone, you haven't seen them, they live far away. Right? You've been meaning to reach out to them. Now's the time. Stop it, right? End this episode. Finish listening to what I have to say. Do your 3 deep breaths that Bree's going to guide us through, because that's just going to make your conversation with your friend or your family member that much better. And yeah, if you want a journal, grab your journal too and write about all the things we talked about, but take some action and reach out and impact someone else's life, make someone else's day. And again, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to talk to them about anything. It doesn't have to be their birthday for you to reach out to them, or just reach out to your friend, reach out with them about the random nonsense that is life.
Sweet. All right.
On to you, Brie.
Yeah. All right. Keep your eyes open. Close your eyes. Do whatever you want. You're already breathing, so take a deep inhale and pause at the top. And then fill in the gap. See if you can breathe in even more. And now exhale completely, pausing at the bottom. And see if there's a little more air that you can release. Doing that 2 more times. So breathe in fully. Pausing at the top and filling in the gap, breathing in even more. Exhale completely. Pause at the bottom. And see if you can release more. And 1 more time, breathing in. Filling in the gap. And breathing out. And releasing anything that's left. And then taking a moment here and just noticing if there was a difference between each of those breaths. Maybe there wasn't, but maybe by the 3rd, there was not much left to breathe in or release. So knowing as you practice these deep breaths, you're naturally moving towards breathing in more. When you feel ready, you can open your eyes if they aren't already.
Wonderful. I needed that. Thanks, Brie.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
We'll chat soon. See you tomorrow.
See ya.